I want to talk to my women dealing with burnout, dealing with chronic fatigue, autoimmune issues, chronic pain. I want to talk to you. The one who's feeling exhausted, the one who feels like she has tried everything to feel better. She has seen all the doctors, taken all the supplements, changed her diet. Her spirituality's on deck. She's tried meditating. She's even tried yoga. She's doing all the things to feel better, yet her symptoms are still there. She's still exhausted. Her body still hurts. The brain fog won't go away. And you literally feel like your health is slipping away from you despite you holding on to it for dear life. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about the real reason why your health is deteriorating. This conversation might sting a little bit, but that's why we're here, because I want you to face reality. You're probably thinking that you're doing too little, that you're not doing enough, that there has to be something else you could try, like something has to give. You want your life back. But I'm here to tell you that what your body is asking for is the opposite, because your body, I have a lot of notes. The body keeps the score. I know that everybody keeps hearing that, but it is the truth. The body keeps the score. The body is like one of those tallies you see in like a basketball game, like the scorecard. Every single thing you've been through, it has gone through it with you, and it is stored in your body. And when you don't release these things from happening to you, what happens is that your body starts to communicate to you through symptoms. So your nervous system gets dysregulated because you are stuck in survival mode. And the body cannot heal while it is stuck in survival mode. It cannot. Because when you're stuck in survival mode, your body is in fight or flight. Your body's not thinking about softening. Your body's not thinking about, that's why it's hard. It can be hard for people to try to slow down and meditate, because when you're in survival mode, your nervous system cannot do that effectively. So when your body's in survival mode, you can't heal. You can try all the things. They may work temporarily, but they're not going to stick. Which is probably why so many of us get frustrated. I know that's how I was feeling when I was going through my health scares and my health journey of it deteriorating, because I'm such a doer and a fixer and gotta get something solved type of person. And then when I cannot solve something, it drives me crazy. So part of this process is surrendering. But before we get into that, I want to talk about how the nervous system, when it's in survival mode, it starts to talk to you through symptoms of chronic fatigue, through symptoms of inflammation, burnout, digestive issues, fibroids, PCOS. And when we don't listen, these issues get worse. And that's when people start to experience chronic illnesses like cancers, thyroid cancer, breast cancer, uterine cancer, and more. And a lot of these health issues and diseases tend to target women, because women are the caregivers, women are the givers, women are the nurturers. We tend to put ourselves on the back burner trying to help everybody else and take care of everybody else, that we don't take care of ourselves. And when we don't take care of ourselves, our health is the one that takes the brunt of it all. Our health starts to get affected, and it's the body's way of getting our attention so that we can give our body the nurturing that it needs, the softness that it needs, the rest that it needs, so that it can begin to heal itself. because while it's running ragged, and while it's drained, and while it's exhausted, and while it's in pain, it cannot heal. It can't, because your body's on fire. And when your body's on fire, you can't heal, no matter how much water you throw at it. So that's the conversation that I wanted to talk about. And one of the things that I wanted to get into is why symptom management isn't enough to create lasting healing. And I'm a prime example of this, of like taking the medications, taking the shots, doing all the Western medicine things. Like, and I'm not knocking Western medicine, because Western medicine, in my opinion, is amazing for life-saving things. Like if you need a heart transplant, or you need surgery to save your life, or things like that. But it's not meant to what's the word I'm looking for? It's not meant to avoid illness. Like Western medicine is there to save the day at the very end, when you need life-saving things done. But it's not the go-to, or it's not the solution to avoid getting sick. So that's a lot of the reasons why the symptom management stuff doesn't work, because once the symptoms are there, the management that these doctors are giving you, they work temporarily, but the reason they don't work permanently is because they don't get to the root of the issue as to why you're experiencing these symptoms. It's not built for that. And in order to get to the root issue of why you're experiencing these symptoms, you have to do the complete opposite of what Western medicine is asking you to do. And it's a lot of things that people are too afraid to do. People want the change, the better lifestyle, the better health, the better life, right? But they're not willing to change the lifestyle choices that they've made to get them to where they are. Like the Ozempic and things, like, not knocking anybody for who's on that, but it makes you lose weight. But a lot of people, when they're on it, they're not changing their lifestyle. They're still eating what they want to eat. When people get BBLs, right? They're still doing and making the same choices that they made that got them to where they are, right? Same thing. So in order for things to start working, is you have to start making a lifestyle change. You have to start doing the complete opposite of what got you to where you are. And a lot of people are not ready for that, especially when you've been in survival mode for so long. Slowing down is so hard for somebody who's been on survival mode for so long. Trust me, I've been there. The meditating, the slow walks, the sitting in silence, the slow mornings. It's so uncomfortable. That's when they say that's like when people say that, like, people who like were raised and grew up in New York City, and then they moved to, like, I don't know, the Poconos or down south or somewhere that's completely the opposite of New York City, which is loud and congested and fast moving, right? And you go to like the suburbs or somewhere way quieter and slow pace, it feels foreign to that person, to the point that they can't fall asleep unless they have the TV on, or there's some sort of noise going on in the house, because they're not used to the silence. Their body is not used to it, doesn't see it as something safe, and so they cannot relax, they cannot sleep. And they use this background noise to kind of get them some sort of familiarity for their body to feel safe so they can fall asleep. Similar thing. I wanted to touch upon, let me grab this out of here. I also wanted to touch upon the hidden connections between chronic stress, your nervous system dysregulation, and your physical symptoms, which I kind of touched upon a little bit, right? The way that the body works is the brain is meant to protect you. The brain is meant to, like, the brain doesn't understand that we're now in modern times and we're no longer like in like the caveman era where you literally had to like watch out for like wildlife eating you. We're no longer there. We've since evolved, but the brain hasn't. And so when the brain starts to feel things that are unfamiliar or uncomfortable, it will do things to protect you. And what I mean, how this all ties into your chronic stress, your nervous system, and any sort of physical symptoms that you're having, whenever any sort of things come up, like stress or anger or shame or sadness or things like that, instead of you feeling those emotions, what the brain is going to do is it's going to start to spark up your symptoms and kind of bring them up to the surface so that you can pay attention to that instead of the root issue, which is all the emotions that have been bottled up in your body for so long that you haven't been able to release. That's the real problem. But it's keeping you distracted with the symptoms that you're having. It wants you to focus on that because it sees your emotions, it sees your past, it sees your childhood as danger. So it doesn't want you to go there. It prefers that you get distracted and focus all your energy on your symptoms, all your energy on booking more appointments, all of your energy on seeing another specialist, all of your energy on scheduling another surgery or procedure or filling a prescription, because it deems that safe. So there is a connection, right? But the brain is so the brain is so protective that it tricks you, and you have to be hyper aware to understand what's happening, right? And it can keep you stuck. It really can, and it's not doing it on purpose. It just doesn't know any better, right? It really just doesn't know any better. And so what your body is asking for instead, like people like myself who in the past was living in survival mode for decades up until my 40s, when you're in survival mode, a lot of times you are disassociated from what is happening because you are so focused on surviving that you're not really in reality. You're not really in the present moment. You're not really feeling the things. You're kind of just going on to the next. And okay, I gotta go to the supermarket. I gotta buy groceries. I pick up the kids. I gotta drop off the kids. I have to go to work. Now I have to find parking. Now I have to go cook. Now I have to do laundry. Now I have to... It's like on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And in all of this surviving and exuding all this energy to survive, what your body is really needing in order for it to actually heal is the complete opposite of you being in survival mode. It's actually you slowing down, resting, not doing too much, not doing the most, pouring into yourself, being selfish, which really isn't selfish. You not abandoning yourself, you doing things that are going to be in the betterment of who you were meant to be, and getting your health back on track so that you can start to experience the life that you know you deserve to have, instead of spending all your time trying to figure out what is going on with your body. But when you are stuck in survival mode, it's almost impossible for you to slow down and rest, because it translates to your body as danger, because it's so unfamiliar to your nervous system. And that is the big hurdle to make that connection, to go from survival mode to relax mode, to parasympathetic mode in your nervous system. That is so hard for someone to do who's been in burnout and who's been in survival mode for so long, and who's been dealing with health issues, autoimmune issues, digestive issues, and all the things. It is so hard to go from survival mode to rest mode. That's why resting feels so uncomfortable. That's why quietness feels uncomfortable. That's why slow mornings feel uncomfortable. That's why listening to soft music feels uncomfortable. That's why not being in toxic environments feels uncomfortable, because you're like, where's the drama? The shoe's gonna drop somewhere. I know it. Shit can't be good all the time. Of you always being on edge, waiting for something bad to happen and not being able to enjoy the fruitfulness of your life. That's why those things are so hard. Because you have been on this side for so long, it is so foreign for you to cross the bridge and get to the other side. But this side of the bridge is where all the healing happens. This side of the bridge is where your body finally gets to exhale and heal. This side of the bridge is where your symptoms now go into, like, where your disease and your symptoms go into remission. Where you no longer feel the fatigue, you no longer feel the pain, you no longer feel are dealing with the thyroid issues, the PCOS, the fibroids, the chronic fatigue, the lupus, the fibromyalgia, the multiple sclerosis symptoms, all those autoimmune diseases. It's when you finally allow for your nervous system to exhale. And in between that, the bridge that gets you there, in between all of that, is in the softness. But how do you get there? How do you get there in a safe way that doesn't freak you out, right? Speaking from somebody who's been in survival mode up until about maybe 2 years ago. I will be 49 this month. And that's why it can be frustrating, because at least for me, I was so frustrated with why my health was deteriorating, because I was doing all the things. I thought I was, right? I was having my slow mornings. I was meditating. I was grounding. I was going on nature walks. I was journaling. I was listening to jazz in the morning. I was, making sure that I wasn't doom scrolling. I was making sure that I wasn't, watching negative TV, that everything around me was positivity and affirmations. I was doing all of that. So I was like, why am I not getting better? Like, what is happening? And what I learned through the process is, although I was doing all the right things, the one thing I was not doing, the train, put an exclamation point on that. The one thing that I was not doing is looking out for me. Did you know that women are the ones who tend to have these autoimmune issues, the burnout, the chronic pain, the chronic stress? Because we're the ones who can't say no. We're the ones that pour into everybody else. We're the ones who put our wellness on the back burner. We'll say, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll do it Thursday. I'll do it this evening. Evening comes, you don't do it. We pick up the phone when everybody calls us. We solve every single problem that comes our way. We take a mental snapshot of all the to-do lists we have for work, for the kids, for ourselves, for everyone. We spend all of our time taking care of everybody else, and we don't take care of ourselves. We don't drink water. We don't do anything for ourselves. We think we are, but we don't. And so we abandon ourselves. And that is the worst thing you can do for your body and your health. The worst thing you can do. So although I was doing all the things, or so I thought I was missing the mark. And that was the crucial piece. Because when you tell people exactly what you feel, when you no longer silence your voice, I'll repeat that in case that didn't work. Where you say no, you enforce boundaries, you maintain boundaries, you don't backstep. You let people figure things out on their own. You no longer try to save everybody. You demand equality in your relationships because you tend to be the giver and people don't reciprocate that. Or there's not a even amount of reciprocal exchange. You don't do things anymore that bring you joy. How many times have you, I know I've heard myself say this many, many times of like, I don't know who I am anymore. I used to wear heels. I used to dance. I used to sing. I used to whatever. And then somehow as life went on, you just stopped doing the things that brought you joy. Why? Because you're focused on somebody else. Your kids, your husband, your mother, your sister, whoever, your boss, your career, your business, whatever. And you forget about yourself. You abandon yourself. And in that abandonment is where the sickness lies. In that abandonment is where the sickness lies. Because you're so focused on everybody else and you've forgotten your needs and what brings you joy. You've let people walk all over you. You try to keep the peace. You don't speak up when you don't like something, or when somebody says something that you don't like, you don't speak up. You just kind of let it go because you don't want to ruffle feathers, or maybe you don't have the energy to have an exchange with somebody because you're exhausted. And time after time, the more and more time that passes by and you keep doing these things, you keep letting people walk all over you, you keep not putting your foot down, you keep not putting yourself before everybody else. My internet's like acting up. Hopefully this is working. The more and more that you do this, the more and more your body takes a toll. The more and more inflammation you get, the more and more exhaustion you feel, the more and more issues you're feeling with your thyroid, or chest pain, or you're feeling some sort of pelvic pain, or your fibroids or something. The more and more that you abandon yourself, the more and more that your body takes the brunt of it all. And that is the connection between the body and your health. And this is stuff that doctors won't talk about because they're not trained to talk about it. When I work with clients one-on-one, I ask them, what have you been through? Tell me about your life. And when they tell me about their life, it all makes sense as to why they're experiencing the symptoms they're experiencing. Why some of them are so numb they can't feel. Why some of them are so disassociated from their bodies. Why some of them can't even rest. No matter how exhausted they are, they can't rest. They're looking for the next thing to do, despite being exhausted. When I went through my health issues, I slept for 4 months straight, and I was still exhausted. I remember I kept telling my therapist, I was literally just going to take like a 2-week break and go back to like my life. And my body was like, no, bitch, go lay down on the bed. And in the beginning, I felt guilty because I was like, I should be doing something. My body was like, absolutely not. I've been trying to get you to rest for years and you don't listen. And despite all the warning signs I've been showing you through your migraines, through the exhaustion, through the burnout, through the brain fog, you still didn't listen. And so I hit you with the shoulder surgery. I hit you with the hand surgery. I hit you with the nerve pain. I hit you with the vertigo. I hit you with, what was the other stuff? The tingling, the numbness in my body, the shooting pain. Then I was like, all right, this can't be all a coincidence. I'm listening now. Because I am convinced that if I would have kept not listening, things would have gotten worse to chronic illness. And this is the stuff that people don't talk about. The body keeps the score. And when you do not release all of these things that are happening in your body, of all this trauma, the body will continue to keep the score. And things will continue to get worse. So that's the real reason why your health is deteriorating. It's not the diagnoses. The diagnosis is still there. I'm not saying you don't have what you have. You do. But your health is going to continue to deteriorate until you heal your trauma. And if you're interested in doing that work with me, you can schedule a next step call. The link is here. It's also in my bio. For us to work together, for us to heal your trauma and end your symptoms. So if you're interested in that, I invite you to go ahead and click that link and for you to schedule a next step call. But I really want to leave you with this. I want you to keep asking yourself, where in my life am I abandoning myself? Where in my life am I not deliberately choosing myself? Where when I'm exhausted, right? I get home from work and I'm exhausted and my friend calls me and I still pick up the phone knowing that I'm tapped out, knowing that I have no capacity, but I still pick up the phone because I want to be there for her. Instead of you doing what your body's asking you to do, which is rest. Just one example. When you overgive at work and it's not appreciated. When you're the one who does all the work and everybody else takes the credit. When you're the one who, if you take a day off, the department goes to shit. Because everybody knows you're going to pick up the slack. And so there's people in the department who don't do anything because they know that you're going to do all the work. Where is that coming from? That's the question I want to leave you with. Where is that coming from? And what people don't realize is that all comes from our childhood. It's how we were brought up. What happened to you? What happened to you is the big question. What happened to you? Because what happened to us in childhood is what morphs into our adulthood and starts to show up in ways that way. Like I've spoken about many times, the eldest daughter, right? The one who's like the second parent, the one who takes care of everybody, the other siblings, and takes care of the house because the mom is working. How that translates in adulthood, you overgive. You take care of everybody else, you don't take care of yourself. You do, don't rest. You solve everybody's problems. You continue to be the fixer, the planner, the doer, the one everybody goes to for everything. Yet you're exhausted, you're drained, you're in pain, and your body is doing things that you don't understand what it's doing. That is the connection. That's the real reason why your health is deteriorating. So I want to leave you with that again. If this is resonating with you, if you are somebody who is burnt out, if you're somebody who's dealing with an autoimmune issue or a chronic pain or any sort of digestive issues, and you are trying everything under the sun to change your symptoms, to feel better, but nothing is working, schedule a next step call. The link is here. It's also in my bio. And I'm going to be going live tomorrow as well at 12 p.m. So I'll see you there too. And have an amazing day.